Hey there, and welcome to your program overview. Dr. Infantino here. And what I'm going to do today is give you sort of the big picture of the entire program, along with lots of frequently asked questions. In a separate video, one of our coaches is going to go through kind of the book play by play, like really step by step, dive into more detail. But what I'm going to cover are things like how many calories you should get, basic sources, how much water should you drink, how to take your supplements, how much sleep do you need, when to go to sleep. Something called a healing crisis that you may experience. We'll talk a little bit about detoxifying the body, exercise, etc. So let's dive into it. Number one, how many calories? In general, this will vary from person to person, but a good rule of thumb, women about 1,100, men about 1,200. Now, if you're adding exercise to that, which at some point in your program you will, you can certainly add calories. In fact, you'll need to. So it does vary with activity. Your coach will go over specifics of that with you during your onboarding call. One of the questions I get a lot, though, is why to track calories in the first place? Basically, it helps us help you. For instance, let's say you're cruising along, losing 5 pounds a week, and all of a sudden it stops. Well, we don't know. Are you eating too much, too little? How do we tweak it? What do we need to do next? Without any data, it's pretty much just a guess, and I don't like guessing. I like to know for sure. The next one, water. Why and how much and what kind? All the questions about water. The basic rule of thumb with water is pretty simple. Half your body weight in ounces. Distilled would be ideal. RO is okay. The reason you're drinking as much water as you are is it helps flush and cleanse toxins from the system. So my suggestion, grab a jug, fill it up, work on it throughout the day so that you know and you don't guess. Very often people are like, well, I'm pretty sure I'm getting a gallon, and they actually measure it and it's nowhere close. So don't let that happen. It's really important. Another important category is sleep. If you're not sleeping well right now, it will improve. However, you're shooting for 8 hours. It's important. And try to get in bed by 10 p.m. I could just hear some of you going, that's almost impossible. Well, here's why you should, and then you can decide. You secrete a powerful fat-burning hormone called growth hormone between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. roughly. Don't ask me exactly how your body knows what time it is. It does. It has to do with something called circadian rhythm. You don't have to remember any of that. But get in bed by 10 p.m. if at all possible, and you will burn more fat. Growth hormone also is powerful for helping you repair, heal, rebuild, all the things we're working on during this program. So that's really important. The next thing, supplements. Definitely start slow. On day one, you're taking one supplement. On the next day, I would suggest make sure you take them with meals. So eat breakfast. It could be a couple scrambled eggs. It could even be the shake. And then take a couple supplements. Wait an hour or so. Take a couple more. Just make sure everything's going well. If you get nauseous, just stop. Really simple. Also, I would put supplements in baggies. See, a lot of the days are exactly the same. Like day 2 through 8, for instance. Same supplements, AM and PM. Now, this may be changed by your coach, but in general, it's pretty safe to make some baggies ahead of time. So if you're running out the door in the morning, you don't have to open up every single bottle. You just grab your AM baggie, drink a shake, take the supplements even when you get to work. It's just fine. By the way, these supplements are super safe. But again, if you feel nauseous or anything's kind of bugging you, just stop taking them. They're all just food-grade herbs that are combined by a master herbalist up in Utah. She's amazing, knows what she's doing. We've used them for years and years. The next thing we're going to talk about is something called a healing crisis. Healing crisis simply means what is your body going through as it tries to purge all the stuff it doesn't need, heal, cleanse, detox. Well, the most common thing is probably fatigue. All right, your body's using your energy to heal. You don't have a whole lot of extra available for, running marathons, etc. So listen to your body. If at all possible, just try to rest. Take it easy. Bowel movements or bowel irregularity is kind of common. Again, just text or call your coach or myself. We'll certainly tell you what to do and how to tweak that. Headaches, it's all pretty normal. There's a section in the book called the healing crisis. Just look at that for other thoughts on what are some possible symptoms. While not pleasant, it's a normal part of the process. Next, we'll talk about detox. Right? So what does detox really mean? Basically, you're going to be using lemons and maple syrup. And what we're trying to do in a nutshell is mimic what we went through during history. In other words, 1,000 years ago, you might kill a deer and you eat it. And then what happens? It might be 2 or 3 days before you eat again. And during that time, your gut is literally cleaning out that lion and rebooting and healing. So the idea here is giving your gut a break so that your liver, your gut, the lining can all get cleansed. The detox bottle is simple. You fill it to the first line with lemons, fresh squeezed lemons, and then to the second line with maple syrup. And you can see it in the diagram there. The challenge for a lot of people is like squeezing the lemons, etc. I would suggest squeeze a bunch of them at once. Squeeze it into the bottle and then measure that by pouring it. Once you do it to the line on the bottle, pour it into a little Ziploc baggie and freeze it in a block. So then you have a bunch of them ready to go, right? So you might have like 10 of those blocks or so, 5 days of detox, 2 bottles a day. That's kind of the key to the whole thing, to make life just simple. And we're all about as simple as possible. Veggie days, what are they all about? There's prep days and transition days. This is simply getting your body ready for the detox process. You don't want the last thing in your gut to be, turkey or chicken or heavy grains. So for a couple days before your detox, when you're doing the liquid drink, and a couple days after, I'm going to ask you to get most of your calories from vegetable sources and healthy fats. So during those days, you could also use the shake. You might use more salad dressings, salads, avocados. Just do your best to get calories in. And your coach will go over more of this in the video that you'll watch next. Coffee. I should bring this up. If you're drinking coffee and or caffeine from other sources on a regular basis, realize your brain is wired for that. I would suggest wean off it slowly to avoid that headache. All right, I call it the 25% rule. That basically means however much you're drinking today, drink 25% less tomorrow, 25% less the next day. So for instance, if you're drinking 2 cups today, maybe a cup and a half, even for a day or two. Then it might be a cup for a day or two. Then it might be half a cup for a day or two. That'll just help. You can also substitute naturally caffeine-free tea and organic. Again, we'll talk more about that in the book, and everything I'm going through here is written in there. Fruit is out for the beginning. Now, I understand fruit is good for you, but it's also very high in sugar. And so for a couple reasons, we're going to leave it off. The first one being sugar spikes basically your blood sugar, which is it's going to increase fat storage, which most people on this program don't want to do. It also feeds everything bad in the gut. So what we do is we'll test when you're ready for fruit. Now, for some people, it may be never. Like if you're just trying to lose weight, I would highly recommend just don't even put fruit back in during the program. If you're like, look, weight loss isn't my goal and I want to see if my gut's ready, then your coach will say, hey, have a handful of blueberries or something and see how you feel. If you feel gassy, bloaty, etc., out it goes. But again, when you add back fruit, if at all, is really just dependent on what your program goals are. The next one, protein, pretty simple. Again, these next few slides I'm going to go through, healthy proteins, carbs, processed grains or non-processed grains, etc. It's all listed in the book, but a quick overview. Clean protein is chicken, turkey, fish, eggs. People ask sometimes how many grams. I would say 25% or so of your calories. There's no exact rule. Maybe 50 grams a day would be fine. If you're working out hard later, you can certainly increase that. I wouldn't worry about measuring it. It's just too complicated. Just think 2 to 3 servings a day of some of the things above would be perfect. Healthy carbs are non-processed carbs. So things like brown rice, wild rice, lentils, quinoa, all great. I will ask you to avoid things like potatoes and corn and fruit and anything that becomes sugar in the gut quickly. So no processed grains. Processed grains are things like bread, pasta, tortillas. The problem with them is they spike blood sugar and they feed yeast, everything bad in the gut. Next are healthy fats. Avocados, olive oil, coconut oil, butter from a grass-fed cow, all good stuff. Have at it, enjoy, have as much as you want. You can use things to fry your meats, etc. in it. So enjoy. Fat is not the enemy, it's your friend. One thing people ask a lot is beans. Why can't I have any beans? Beans aren't bad for you. They're, again, just difficult to digest. And we really don't want to be spending time eating things that are hard to digest, especially when cleansing and healing the gut is a main job. You got to realize beans are basically seeds and they're coated the way they are so that they can get through the digestive system from animals. Right? So animal eats the seed, passes through the digestive system, the animal poops somewhere in the woods, the new plant grows. So think of it that way. They're just hard to digest and they're built that way for a reason, so we want to avoid them. So how about some simple meals to get started? Because sometimes people hear all this and like, oh my gosh, where do I even begin? Well, if you can boil an egg, you can get started. Omelets, hard-boiled eggs, different soups, right? You can take a chicken, throw it in a pot of water, and just make chicken soup, throw every vegetable you could think of in there. You can boil the quinoa in there itself. I'm also a big fan of grilling chicken. So like I grill on the weekends, and then we take that same chicken and might strip it, put it into an omelet. We might put it into a bowl, put it on top of a salad. Lots of different options. Same thing with ground turkey and maybe tomato sauce. So we make like a meat sauce. I'm a big fan of bowls also. There's a section of that in the book. We mix and match veggies, a base. You could put salsa on it. You could put soy sauce on it. You could put salad dressing on it. And then there's like meals on the run. Like, what do I do if I'm out and about? Well, again, hard-boiled eggs are great. I mean, these days you can go into Trader Joe's on the run and just go in and grab a couple hard-boiled eggs in a package. You can get one of those little salads that are pre-made. Just use your dressing packets. I'm a big fan of Tessa May. They actually, on Amazon, you can get their packets pre-made, throw it in a bag or a purse, a backpack, take it with you. So you can go into like a Safeway or any grocery store and get a salad in a bowl that's pre-made. Usually they come with dressing. Just pull out that dressing and substitute this one. Or you could use vinegar and oil, etc. Another simple, easy meal is a shake on the run, right? So I usually have 2 scoops of shake sitting in a shaker cup. I just add water. Or there are times when I don't have a shaker cup and I have maybe one of those packets. I'll just find a water bottle. Go into any convenience store, get a water bottle. I use a sheet of paper as a funnel, as silly as that sounds. I pour 2 scoops of shake right into that water bottle after I drink a little bit of it. So there's room. Shake it up, down it goes. Another cool meal on the run or snack maybe, this fits under the next slide's category too, are epic bars. Epic bars are basically meat bars. When I first heard that, I got to admit I was a little grossed out, but having tried them and lived on them since, I think they're awesome. The salmon and chicken in particular, some of the bars, be careful, they do contain fruit in them. So just read the label, find the ones that look like you like. They're actually really good. Some other cool snacks are things like, this is going to sound silly, but things like pickles. I like pickles. If you read the average pickle, though, you'll see it's got all sorts of colors and preservatives. So just get a good, clean one. And try to avoid bread and butter pickles because they're just soaked in sugar, basically. I also like artichoke hearts and kale chips, hard-boiled eggs again, the epic bars, jerky, things like guacamole and salsa. Most of this stuff you can get at Costco. There's a list that in your book and or you will get it. You know what? I'll just include it next to the slide here. So just download that PDF so you can kind of see them all. Another question we get a lot is exercise. Like, what do I do? In the beginning, nothing. Your body's going to need every ounce of energy to cleanse and heal and detox. So if you want to go for a walk, sure, but don't try running up the side of Camelback Mountain or anything, at least not yet. So call it minimal to start. At about the 3-week point, most people are ready to start doing some exercise, which obviously is going to help burn fat and do lots of other great things. So there's a section in the book that talks about high intensity interval training. I'm a huge fan. It helps ramp up different hormones that burn fat for literally days after you do this type of exercise. But again, check with your coach. It's probably at least 3 weeks in before you're really cleared for that. Another question I get a lot is cheating. There are no cheat days! Exclamation point. I know that sounds brutal and I mean, but why? It has nothing to do with calories, right? It has everything to do with if you're feeding bad stuff in the gut, bad things happen, right? Because if you give yeast and some of these bad guys the food they're looking for, as we're trying to heal all this, now what happens? The liver gets overwhelmed, overloaded again. You stop burning fat. It slows everything down. So you kind of have to start over. Now, I'm not talking about from day one, but do a veggie day, go through a 1 day of detox, do another veggie day, and then continue along where you were. By the way, if you're taking blood pressure or blood sugar medications, track them. You will get healthy enough as you go along to need less. And what'll happen is one morning you might wake up and go, wow, my blood pressure is, 90/60. Should I take my medication? I think your doctor would probably say no, but check with them. Same idea with blood sugar. If you're normally taking insulin in the morning or blood sugar med like metformin, and you wake up and your blood sugar is 80, I think your doctor would probably say you should take less or adjust accordingly. It is not part of the program. We don't basically monitor those for you. Obviously, we can't, nor do I make recommendations on medications that your doctor prescribed, but you have to sort of take all this into account. There's not a week that goes by that someone doesn't come in going, wow, I'm kind of dizzy, I don't feel very good, and their blood sugar or blood pressure are too low because they're taking a med that in reality they probably don't need anymore. So keep an eye on that one. To sum it all up, all you really have to do in this program, communicate, right? All relationships are based on good communication. I would ask you also, stick with the game plan, roll up your sleeves, learn about food, right? Yeah, is it hard? Again, yeah, it's not easy if you're used to eating a certain way, but is it worth it? Of course. You can go through the entire program eating, a can of tuna on a bed of lettuce and still get an amazing result, but you really haven't learned a great lifestyle. So the key, create a lifestyle that you could use forever. And that means experimenting with foods. It's super important. Just play with it. Figure out, okay, do I like this kind of sauce or that sauce? If there are favorite foods that you have now, find something that duplicates them. If you have questions, ask. We've got probably hundreds of recipes at this point. So I am super excited. Go get them. You're going to do awesome.